MLB DFS picks Friday night, June 21st. What pitchers do we want? What pitchers do we want to target with stacks? Who do we want? We want Tyler Glass now, 9,700 versus the Angels. Stats check out. Eating up the innings, 12.1 Ks per 9. Not walking too many batters. Keeping the ball on the ground. Everything looking good. 232 exit. Facing the Angels, 23% K rate. We like it. ISO below league average. Whoa, below league average. WRC plus well below. Not that hot over last week. A little bit of concern over the ballpark, but not with this pitcher who's keeping the ball on the ground and striking out batters. Last game, 7 innings, 9 Ks. And if we look deeper into Glass now's game log, crushing. The only bad games were he did give up 5 runs to the Yankees. It's the Yankees at New York. He still struck out 12 batters in that matchup. Everything else looks good. Definitely could pay up. The other pay up option, probably in an even sweeter spot, George Kirby pitching in Miami. So we get the ballpark upgrade. We get the matchup upgrade with the Marlins being well below league average in ISO. No power, no pop. Striking out, not quite as much, but right up there. WOBA, significantly lower. WRC plus 86, even colder. So Kirby would be probably the guy we want to lean to. Last game, got the win, 6 innings pitched, 6 strikeouts. We look at Kirby's game log recently. Texas, pretty soft matchup, played well. Pitched well against a strong matchup in Kansas City. Soft matchup at Oakland, really looked good. Tough matchup against Houston, looks strong. Seems like he will be your chalkier of the options. Maybe you go with Glass now because there's plenty of upside right there. Get a little bit of differentiation, no problem. Want to save a little bit of money? We look at Bailey over. 6-4 in the year, 73 innings, 9 Ks per 9. Pretty good for this price point. And what we really love is the matchup at Oakland, facing Oakland. Yeah, his 406 xFIP isn't the greatest, but it's still pretty solid. He's had a pretty solid couple seasons for the young pitcher, getting better every year. He's better last season, but in this matchup, he should be fine. 27% K rate for Minnesota versus right-handed pitching. ISO below league average, WOBA below. 95 WRC plus. They have been a little bit hotter of late, but we do get a ballpark upgrade. Over his last matchup, 6 1/3, 8 strikeouts. Yeah, he gave up 6 hits, but we'll take the K upside. We look a little deeper at what Ober's done recently. Not a great outing against Pittsburgh. Struggled against New York, but it's New York. Could have been a lot worse. Kansas City hitting with 3 home runs. Again, a tough matchup. But in softer matchups, he has pitched well. Cleveland, yeah, that's a tough one. And it's a ballpark that is playing really small with the wind tunnel. So I'm not going to worry about that. But in the softer matchups, he's played well. And specifically, who did he face in his last matchup? It was Oakland. He struck out 8, allowed 1 earned run. He's going to face them again. Now, if you have concerns about, facing the same team 2 times in a row, fine, you can fade him. Or he just does the same thing again and puts up a nice score. Next guy you go to, Brady Singer, pretty affordable. Facing Texas. Texas, cold at the moment. A 1-4 ISO the last week. 24% K rate. 255 WOBA. A 62 WRC plus. Texas is playing pretty small this year, so we do have a slight ballpark concern. But in the matchup, he should be fine against a team that's not hitting right-handed pitching. And if you do have ballpark concerns, he's keeping the ball on the ground with a 51% ground ball rate. He's getting out of jams. And the strikeout rate of 8.9 per K per 9, pretty solid. We'll definitely take that. xFIP of 352. So he's pitching a lot better than the results he may necessarily get, although his ERA is 3.39. He's doing a lot of things right. We look at Singer recently, and I believe we'll see, his last game. Not the best, but still, he did limit the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium to just 3 runs. And that was on 3 home runs. So that could have been a lot worse. And to get through that game, 6 innings against the Dodgers, that's a significant achievement. 3 runs. He only allowed 5 hits. So yeah, the home runs got him, but tough matchup. Tough matchup against the Yankees. He gave up 6 earned runs. He did strike out 6. He did go pretty deep into the game. Again, another tough matchup against Cleveland. But you put him in a soft matchup like when he faced Oakland, 9 Ks. And we're going to get a softer matchup against Texas. I like this spot. We're striking out a lot over late. If that's not enough savings for you, we got a couple guys at the bottom that we can consider. DJ Hers is going to be risky because he is in Colorado. Young kid, came through the Cub system, got traded with the Jamer Candelario deal to Washington, has pitched well in the minors. He's now in the bigs. Really good in his last start. How good was he? Got the win. 6 innings, 13 Ks, just 1 hit. Really good strikeout numbers. His walks have been a little bit high in the minor leagues, and in his first 2 starts, he was walking maybe too many batters, but boy, he seemed to clear that up in his last start, which was, again, a soft matchup against Miami. But you look at him through the minors, pretty strong K numbers here. 11.9, 12.2 Ks per 9, 2023, 13.5. The walks are scary. They absolutely are. But if you can, and Coors Field's going to be scary. If you walk people in Coors Field and you give it too much contact, it's going to be trouble. But if there's something that plays well in Colorado, it's striking out batters, which is what he is doing. We look at the game log, just a couple so far since he's been called up, but man, he was dynamite against Miami. Against the Mets, he gave up 4 earned runs. The Mets are really good against left-handed pitching, so we can put that asterisk right there. Atlanta's a good team. He still only allowed 2 earned runs at 4 1/3. Then in his third outing at home against Miami, absolutely crushed. 13 strikeouts, didn't walk a batter, allowed 1 hit. Coors could be scary, but if anyone's going to go into Coors, and maybe these rookies are a little bit more bullheaded, unlike a veteran, they don't worry about it so much, he could go to Colorado and just start K-ing people. We know Colorado's offense isn't that great. Now, they have been absolutely killing. I mean, you look at what Colorado did over the last week against the Dodgers. Sure, there are concerns there, but there is plenty of upside if this kid could come in and replicate what he did against Miami. Speaking of Miami, you got Trevor Rogers, if you want to go cheap. Pitching at home, so we do have a bit of a ballpark upgrade. He's facing Seattle. Now, he's probably not going to get the win against George Kirby, but we've got a Seattle team that strikes out 27% of the time against left-handed pitching. Not a lot of pop. 292 OBA, 95 WRC+. They're striking out a 34% clip over the last week. The strikeouts are there. The concern with Rogers is it the same old Rogers? It's not. He burst on the scene as a rookie. Sophomore year, not that great. Closed out 2022 with an injury. Misses pretty much all of 2023. He's back this year, but he's 1-8. And he hasn't looked particularly good. And one of the reasons is he's lacked confidence. He's lacked velocity. But he started to regain that velocity in his last outing. It's not quite up to the 95 mile per hour mark, but was in the 93 mile per hour range in the closing innings of that 7 innings that he pitched. Didn't really pile up the strikeouts, but he went 7 innings, only allowed 2 earned runs, was getting ahead of batters, looked pretty strong. I believe that was a matchup against Washington, if I remember correctly. We'll pull that up. But he was definitely headed in the right direction. Yes, at Washington, only 3 strikeouts, but he wasn't walking batters, which is one of the things that's hurt him this season. He had a lot more confidence. He was able to attack the zone. I think he can do that definitely against Seattle. Very cheap option on this slate if you don't want to go into Coors. Understandably so. Let's look at our hitters. Let's look at our possible stacks. How do we want to sort it? Well, let's just let's start with home runs per 9. Who's giving up home runs? Bowden Francis. 2.1 home runs per 9 and 26 innings pitched. Not the biggest sample size, but it's Cleveland. And we love the way that the wind tunnel is just kicking the ball out of the stadium in right field. 6.23 ERA. Home run to fly ball rate's really high. and he's giving up a significant amount of fly balls. Not the biggest fly ball pitcher, but it's there. You can attack. Chase Anderson has always been prone to the long ball. He's now with Boston. He's going to venture into Cincinnati on a Friday night in the summer. Not a place you want to pitch if you're a fly ball guy. Not a place you want to pitch if you're only striking out 5 batters per 9 innings and walking batters. This seems like a spot where Cincinnati could explode on Chase Anderson. Joey Estes, 1.6 home runs per 9, 5.97 ERA, 474 xFIP. Facing a red-hot Minnesota team. You know the meat of that order can absolutely crush. You like that spot. Andrew Abbott, it's a good pitcher, but he's not striking out a lot of batters. And that's how you would really want to attack Boston, is that they do strike out a lot against lefties. They don't necessarily have a lot of pop. But Boston's hot. Boston's coming into Cincinnati facing a lefty that's not getting the Ks. Abbott can be good at times, but he's pitching to just too much contact, 1.5 home runs per 9. Could be a lot worse if he wasn't getting out of jams. He's getting out of jams, and that's allowing him to keep his ERA down. He is a good pitcher, as I mentioned, but he can get hit with the long ball, as the xFIP suggests that may not be the greatest option. Carlos Carrasco, not striking out batters, not walking batters, not getting out of jams, getting by, not getting completely blown up in games, but he's giving up 3 to 4 runs per game. So again, Cleveland and Toronto, I'd rather have Cleveland because occasionally Carrasco can have a good game. He hasn't been a complete dumpster fire, but he's a bit of a shell of his former self. Probably not as likely to get completely destroyed like Anderson and Francis, but he is in that category. And then obviously, Coors Field, if you want to stack, if you want to take Colorado and their hot streak against hers, that's fine. I would prefer going with Washington against Dakota Hudson, who does not strike out batters, walks a bunch of batters. Somehow, he does not give up home runs in Coors. This number could be a lot worse. His numbers could be a lot worse if he was giving up some home runs. He doesn't strand batters. The good thing about Hudson, which helps him get by, is he does pitch the contact and he keeps the ball on the ground. And so his xFIP's never really going to look all that good because he's not a big, heavy K pitcher. But he is still 2-9, which means he allows more runs than his team scores, which means he allows runs, which is a 4.89 ERA. He does get a decent matchup against a team that's not hitting very well. But teams that aren't hitting very well can go to Coors Field and get on fire, just like Colorado recently hasn't been hitting very well. They return home, they face the Dodgers of all teams, and they're putting up 7 runs per night. Didn't you just say play DJ against the... Yeah, I did. You can go in either direction there. But Washington at Coors, if you can get some discounted bats against Hudson, who at some point is really going to get in a pickle. I mean, he really already is in pickles, 2-9. 5 Ks per 9, but 4.4 walks. Yeah, that's a place to stack, even if you're not getting the home runs. And even if they are ground balls, some of them get through. He doesn't get out of jams. And Washington scores 7 can score 7 runs without putting a ball over the fence. It's also a park that plays well at doubles and triples. That's your slate. That's your stacks. That's your pitchers. Thanks for joining me. Like, subscribe, share. Bring more people to the channel. Hopefully these early previews are helping you out and making your picks.